Okay, why don't we call the meeting to order? This is the Finance Committee meeting of April 2nd, 2022. It is 6:03. In attendance, we have Michael Bennett, Cheryl Zarella-Burke, John Smalling, and myself, Tom Connolly. Linda Cole, our recording secretary, and Todd will not be able to make it tonight, but we have a quorum. So first, could I ask for a motion to accept the minutes of our last meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Second? Great. A roll call vote. Michael?
Yes.
Cheryl?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
And myself, Tom Connolly, is a yes, so those minutes carry. Thank you all. Next on the agenda, we had a discussion of any outstanding items with the Board of Selectmen. Is there anyone on from the board? I can't quite see.
I'm here, Tom.
Actually, it was.
Oh, great, Gordon. So I think there was one item that you may want to cover with us this evening regarding IT.
So there's a question on the IT budget, and there was also a question on the raises.
Tom,
Okay.
Tom, I'm here too.
Great, thank you.
So I know Ashley had a question on the IT, so I'll let her handle that.
Well, my question was kind of a question geared to both of those, as I know we were level funding, and I know the Finance Committee recommended doing the assistant tax collector at 40 hours, but not doing the 40 hours to IT and asking for ARPA funds for that. So I was just curious what the thought was from the Finance Committee on why we were doing one and not the other.
Yeah, that wasn't our position at all. That's completely incorrect. So our position was that we are under-resourced in IT, both with respect to the individual, and those of us that have experience in IT also see it as a sort of single point of failure, that we rely so much on this one individual. So we were always open to this, but what we were never open to, and I think we minuted this a couple of times and asked that someone come and advocate, is that every increase in hours that we had approved previously was not by reference to negotiation with the individual, but rather with the department head at interest who was able to make that case. So several department heads did come in. We asked a couple of times of Caesar and tried to make that clear that he couldn't argue this on his own behalf, even if we were supportive of it. And in the tumult of where we've gotten to up to today, we haven't been able to have that conversation. That doesn't mean at all, though, that we were not supportive of it. We just not feel comfortable approving that on a pitch by the incumbent.
Okay, so obviously we have an interim TA right now, which would be his department head. So you're not getting the information you need from him. So who would? Well,
all we need, I guess, is an endorsement from him that this is the right thing to do. I mean, it really was form over substance, Ashley, and it was that in my 30 or 40 years of doing this, nobody gets to argue for their own raise except to their boss, and then their boss gets to go pitch it.
Right.
So I think we were in violent agreement that we're under-resourced, that we do have a single point of failure here. So we think there should be a conversation longer term about resting all of these hours with one individual. There's like no redundancy in our IT strategy. So if the board can act on Ed's behalf, or the board acts as his supervisor in this case, then I think we can just put this to a vote and put it to rest.
Gordon, I need your thoughts on that.
If the funding's available to pay for it within the budget, then I would recommend we add those hours and not use the ARPA funds so that they're in there moving forward. If they're not in there, then that needs to be a top priority for the next year. I also know that we have needs for the police department as well. So I think that needs of the department and their department heads coming before the Finance Committee, I think that we need to work on that moving forward on what the board sees as needs, along with whoever else comes in as the new town administrator. So
Sure.
if you have the money available, I would recommend you put it within the budget.
And with respect to the police department, I think Chief Chavez has brought forward we've had really fulsome debate. I think we're in consensus view. He's on where we are on the police department. I think longer term we do have needs there. So Sandy, given this late hour and the late ask, where are we on the budget?
So I was just in there. If we do have room in the budget. We've been talking about the possibility of looking for a 1% increase for employees. If that all did go through, we would be still 70,900 above the levy limit. So you do have some room. I was just trying to find the IT submission to see if I could find what he would be getting.
Sandy, if you know what the ARPA sheet shows, it should be the same number.
Okay, but that was last year's ARPA sheet. And let's see. And he has gotten a step increase. So, all right. I'm just trying to go through some of the sheets that he submitted to see if I can find.
And Gordon, while she's going through that, I mean, maybe we could get your view on this. This is not about a raise, because I mean he's getting no greater raise than any other non-union employee. It is about the resource requirements. So if there's a way to cut back on the resource requirements that we put on this one individual, then it makes reasonable sense. But so I just want to confirm your view on that, because our view was, with all of the things that this individual has on his plate, we need to authorize the hours, not so much it's not a rate of pay increase. It is an expense, but it is about getting us properly covered. Do you agree?
I agree that it's an hourly, to add the hours to the position is the request.
Well, I guess I'm asking for more than that. I'm asking, do you agree that is given the demands on the IT department, for which there's no other oversight right now, is this are the demands accurate? Are the demands inflated?
The demands
are the demands necessary?
I believe it's
Okay.
necessary and
Thanks.
accurate.
Okay, thank you. Sandy, any luck?
Yeah, so what we would need is an additional 19,225 added to that wage line.
Okay. Let me close here. Then I would ask for a motion to increase the authorized hours for our IT technician, consistent with the expense that Sandy's just quoted.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Thanks. Put it to a roll call vote. Michael?
Yes.
Cheryl?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
And myself is a yes. That motion carries. So Finance Committee will recommend the increased hours. Gordon, was there, but did we cover both things in that question, or was there, it sounded like there were two topics.
So the other topic is, has the Finance Committee discussed the 1% across the board wage increase?
We have.
We have discussed it. We have not voted on it. And what's the quantum? Could you remind us, Sandy, of what that is?
Yes, so if the wage of personnel got the 1% wage increase, that would be an additional $21,403.
And that is prior to the levy limit that was previously 70,000, right? So that was included, that was baked into the 70,000 number that
That
we
was
started
baked-
with, right?
Yes, I already
Okay.
figured into the 70,000, yes.
Comments from the committee?
I mean, it's generally fair if you're going to give everybody else a 1% to include them as well.
Yeah, I think the 1% across the board is fundamentally non-competitive anyway. And
Right.
I think if we didn't do it, we're looking at turnover or more unionization or just generally that being unfair.
Yeah.
I think I'm just going to ask for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
okay, roll call vote. Cheryl,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
and myself is a yes. So we're recommending the 1% increase for the non-union staff members of the town. Okay. Gordon, was that it?
Yeah, I think those were the only two issues that we can cover. We have draft agreements with the two police, but we haven't voted that in open, and where we don't have an executive session listed tonight, we can't cover it. But I did want to invite you to the 1:30 meeting tomorrow. If some of you have questions, we could cover the contracts in executive session tomorrow. We're posted for 1:30 because we're meeting with our council and the moderator to go over all the warrant articles and motions with Sandy and Pam and Ed.
Yeah, unfortunately, I've had a death in the family, so I'll be away. But if anyone else can join, I'd welcome you guys to join and ask.
Is
any
this in
questions.
person or Zoom, Gordon?
It's in person in the selectmen's room.
Okay.
So before you go, the selectmen are also talking about a special town election in July to fill the position of treasurer collector, which has been vacated. If you do that, I believe you're going to have to add money to the elections account.
When this was raised previously, one of the open question was whether a special election was necessary now, or whether we could name an interim so that it'd be part of the
General election.
the general election. Has that question been resolved? And maybe can we get some insight into why
Okay.
we would need to spend this? I think it's $10,000 or $11,000 to run another election.
So from my perspective, this is an elected position. We're seeing numerous employees leave the town to go to other towns where the rate of pay is much higher. And I think it's important to get somebody in as soon as possible that can take over the position that the voters put into office. It was previously tried to make this an appointed position, and it lost at town meeting. So the process to make it a long-term appointed position would be to put it on the town meeting warrant and then to vote it at the following year's annual election. So I think the faster you get somebody into office, the faster they'll get up to speed. And if somebody else happens to leave the town's employment, hopefully we'll be up to speed.
And so I want to make sure I understand. So it's about filling this position expeditiously, not about this position being able to resolve our lack of competitiveness.
Yes.
True? Okay. And we just don't want to snowball this.
Yeah, because if you have, those two offices are very tightly staffed. So if another person leaves,
yeah,
the town's really in trouble.
Sure. And again, we're still left with this complete with this lack of competitive. Sorry, was there a question?
Sorry, Tom. I cut you off. Would the other option be waiting till September? I don't know what the schedule is for other elections.
So I talked to the town clerk this morning, and she does not want to do that. She was advised by multiple veteran town clerks that to try to run two at the primary is not a good idea.
Yeah, I understand that. Sandy, where would the money come from?
We could add it to her wage line, make an amendment on town meeting floor to that line, and explain
the wage line to run the election.
Yeah. So she on Article 4, we have a line for elections.
Oh, got it. Okay, thank you.
So we could add it to that line. I don't know how much we would need. Maybe Sue would have an idea of how much extra she would like in that line.
Hi, yep. So I don't have it in front of me, but I believe it was more like between 6,000 and 7,000, not the 10,000.
Okay. All right, every little bit helps.
So currently we're at 31,100 for that line. So we would have to increase it to 37,100.
Okay. Any questions from it sounds like we're in a box. We need to do this. I understand Gordon's view and share it that the faster we get these positions filled, which begs the question of maybe we get a progress review on the update on the town administrator job.
Administrator, yeah.
But on this, staying on this one, could I ask for a motion to authorize the funds for a special election for our tax collector position?
Yes, so moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay, and a roll call vote. Michael?
Yes.
Cheryl?
Yes.
John?
I'm undecided.
Okay, and I'm a yes, under probably the same duress as John.
Yeah,
so
me too.
The motion carries. So, all right, I think that resolves any other issues that we need to cover with the board members tonight? Gordon or Ashley?
I can give you, so the update on the town administrator was when Troy announced that he was resigning. I thought it was in the best interest of the town to have a full board go through the interview process and hire somebody that the town thought was best after the election. So that the new board would be picking the person that they'd be working with.
I don't know. Due deliberation applies universally, Gordon. If we're exercising prudence there, I'm not sure why we're not exercising equivalent prudence on the tax collector's role.
Well, the tax collector's role is elected. The tax collector's role is elected. You have to be a resident.
They're both essentially critical positions, and essential critical positions. The method by which we get them in there, if there's a way to be quick about, well, I think I speak for everyone that we're feeling the effects of a lack of a town administrator. But okay, we understand where we're at on the recruiting process.
And there's 32 openings right now, so that the committee's aware, statewide. There's 32 openings for town.
32 administrator openings.
Yes.
Wow.
So Gordon, have we talked to the company that's running the search to get them started? Because even if they started now, maybe they'd have
He's
candidates.
supposed to, well, he has talked to the candidates and we're going to be scheduling, well, the new board will schedule the appointment with him and the candidates coming in.
Okay.
So it sounds like we have a slate, at least developing, of candidates?
Well, he does, yes.
He does. Okay. Right. That's good progress, huh? Okay. Thanks for that update. I think let's move on to any other budget items that we should cover this evening. Sandy?
Not that I can think of. You guys all have got your warrants at home, right?
Yeah.
If you have any questions on any of the articles that stick out to you, I'd be glad to answer anything that I can. I've been working up the handouts for town meeting, giving little narratives for each article. So I have familiarity with the articles anyway. So if there is anything that anyone wants to ask, I can help out that way. But that's about where we are.
Anyone on the committee have questions for Sandy this evening?
No, not right now.
Nope.
I've been through them. The big question is not the articles themselves, but the questions that we'll get, and those are always interesting. And just read the. I would ask members read the articles carefully and think about how people will react to them and the questions that they might have, so that we have good solid answers. I think we've done our due diligence this year. It's been fairly tight, so we just got to have the best answers that we can for the town.
Right, and just take a good look at the ones that you haven't made recommendations yet, because the meeting before town meeting, we'll have to get recommendations on those. Right.
And I know that Cheryl may not be able to make it, so and I'll talk to Todd as well. But John and Michael, we got to have you guys there and me and Todd for us to have quorum. So it's important that we all make the meeting on Monday night.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay. We had some correspondence. First, if Pam is still on, we had a records request to Sandy and I think it really is to Sandy and the board, a records request for the spreadsheet, for the budget spreadsheet. I think that falls to the board. I don't think we have authority over the spreadsheet itself. It's a departmental budget, correct?
Right. So the spreadsheet is a working document, and there's no reason why we can't give it out. But we were told to send all public information requests through Ed, so that he could say which ones need to go to the attorney and which ones don't. So is this the one from Bob Ross?
Yeah.
So I did give Ed all the information today to fill that budget request. I did give him a copy of the spreadsheet, and I put on the top of it working document and the date it was revised, which was today, just so that he understood that it's something that's constantly changing as we go on. So, I mean,
no, absolutely not. The only reservation I had with turning over the document in its current form is that it is a completely editable, manipulable document. So I just think, out of an abundance of caution, delivering it as a PDF or something that's uneditable, it's a snapshot. But I'll leave that to Ed to. No,
that's smart. I'll mention it to Ed tomorrow.
Ed and I work on requests, so anything that gets sent will probably end up going through my office anyway.
The file, if it's a spreadsheet or whatever format it's in, if it's requested that way, that's how they get it, whether it's editable or not.
All right.
No. Okay. All right. Thanks. So that was one bit of correspondence. The other, Sandy, if you could, this was addressed to you from the Board of Assessors regarding the ATB cases and the $200,000
yes.
for fiscal 23. Can you just help us understand the budgetary impact of that?
All right, so when we figure the expenses of the budget, we use Article 4, but, and then we compare that to the revenues that we have. Before we compare it, though, we add in our allowance for abatement and exemption. The allowance for abatement and exemption is set up so that any abatements from personal property tax or real estate tax would come out of that figure. And we've been doing about, before it was about 120, 140. We went up last year to 165. And that's just watching the abatements and exemptions as they're going through, about what do we think they need. This year, because we believe that several of the ATB cases may be settled for FY23, we needed to have extra money within that account. So instead of the 165, they were asking for 200,000 to be put in. I did reflect that on the spreadsheet. So if you look up where all the union articles are on the synopsis page, you'll see that under expenditures for raise and appropriate, the first one is Article 4, then the reserve fund, and then it's down near the bottom, and I highlighted it orange, overlay, 200,000. So I put in all the extra things, all the articles and everything that add into the raise and appropriate amount.
Okay.
So
I realize the other committee members don't have benefit of this correspondence because it wasn't distributed. It was just in my email, and I don't think there's a vote required on this, is there? Or is it?
No, not really. The amount that we put in for the allowance for abatement and exemption is really decided usually between myself and the assessor's office. And we usually do it by trying to figure out how many abatements and exemptions we received the year before, and what, if it's an evaluation year, it might be a little higher, that type of thing. So. Okay.
So basically, from Holly, the memo is just a point of information for us about where that provision might come in this year, about 35,000 higher than last year. Okay. So no vote required. We can table that for tonight. Is there any other business that we should cover tonight, either public participation or from the committee?
It's Caesar. I just wanted to find out who was planning on taking laptops, tablets, or any other electronic devices to town meeting, just so I can make sure that you guys have network access.
I will.
I will also. Well, no, I don't think we'll need it. Anybody else on the committee?
No.
Have a laptop for? No. We'll have our.
Does anyone need a device available to them, or want a device available to them?
I think so.
No.
Okay, so just Sandy.
Okay, just Sandy.
Right. That's it for me.
Okay, thanks for that, Caesar. Thanks for checking.
Right. Linda's not here. If she needs one, I'll tell her to contact you.
I'll be sending out an email to regular employees that will likely be there, but I just wanted to find out from the committee, since I know that they're working during the day. They don't have time to check their emails, so just figured I'd ask while everyone's here.
Thank you.
I'll talk to Todd too, and just make sure he's all set.
Okay, that's great.
I missed
all right,
that.
then. Oh, go ahead.
I just missed whatever question it was. My computer froze.
John, were you anticipating on taking your laptop or a tablet to the meeting with you to bring up documents or go through the warrant? I just wanted to make sure that I can make sure network access is available for you at the meeting.
I hadn't given that thought. Should I shoot you a note, an email the next day or two if I'm going to?
Not a problem.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Anything else, folks?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. We are starting earlier this year than last So please take note of that. ATM is at 6:30, correct, Sandy?
Yes.
Yes, and we would meet in the at the school at 5:30. So I'll hope to see you all there at 5:30 to take care of any last minute items that we might have, and then we'll go from there.
Sounds
All right.
good.
All right, a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, a roll call vote. Michael,
Yes.
Cheryl,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
and myself, Tom Connolly, is a yes. Thank you all. We're adjourning at 6:33, and we will see you all next week at the annual town meeting. Thank you.
All right. See you next week.
Good night.